Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you are here. We wanted to share with you, just first of all, how amazing it was for all of you to share with us your different experiences and your different, like where you're coming from. So it was so neat to have people coming from Australia and from the UK and all over the US and all over Canada. And we just really appreciate you sharing that with us. And it just makes us feel so excited to see who's interested and really learn more about what we're going to talk about today. So, which brings us to this. Just want to give you a quick overview of what we're going to do today. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what rail travel feels like, really give you kind of a firsthand experience, let you see the immersive scenery, see some of the imagery, really understand the onboard experience. We're going to talk about day trains versus sleeper trains, what to expect from each style of travel. We're going to talk about hotel service levels and options, room types, upgrades, and how we match it to your ideal experience, our regions and our signature routes. And then what's neat, we're going to talk about what's really, when we say more to experience in 2026, we have some really unique opportunities and we have some special itineraries that are only going to be available in 2026 that let you see parts of Canada that we just don't get to do and won't get to do again. And then right after that, we'll have a live questions and answer session. However, what I want you to know is that while we are talking and during the presentations, you can ask a question at any time. And we have people in the back, behind the scenes, that will be answering your questions. And then at the end of it, Lucy, who's been answering your questions all along, will come and talk to you and answer some of the questions that were asked by a lot that maybe she didn't get to, or that would be good for all of you to know, but also a chance for you to ask other questions, new questions. So before we get started, I want to tell you a little bit about who is Fresh Tracks Canada. Fresh Tracks Canada has been designing personalized Canadian vacations for 30 years. We're based in Canada and we work closely with Via Rail and Rocky Mountaineer as long-standing partners. What does that mean? Well, we understand how these rail journeys actually operate, how service levels differ, and how to plan around availability and timing. What really sets us apart? Personalization. Every itinerary we design is built around you, like to travel, how you want to travel, like your pace, your comfort preferences, what really interests you, rather than fitting you into kind of a preset package. We also work with a trusted network of hotels, guides, and tour operators across the country. And this allows us to combine iconic highlights with more thoughtful, well-paced experiences. So we'll walk through some train options today, and everything you hear, what is most important is it's grounded in firsthand experience because we live here. So I'm just teasing this a bit. We'll talk about it at the end of it, but I want to share with you that we are going to have a special offer at the end of this session. It is created specifically for those of you who have joined us live today. This is a limited time webinar only opportunity that focuses on upgrade focused savings and added value across Canadian journeys, including coast-to-coast routes, Canadian Rockies Daylight Rail, and select summer itineraries available for 2026. Now, I say that, but I want you to know that we have 2027 available. So don't count yourself out. If you're interested in 2027 travel, later we'll talk about how you can reach out to a Canadian insider, and they'll be able to talk to you about some savings that we have available. The reason we're doing this now is timing. The planning window designed to help travelers secure preferred routes, cabins, and travel dates for 2026, especially for June and July when demand gets really high and availability can tighten quickly. So this year we wanted to get ahead of it for our planners. We're not going to get into the details just yet, but we'll walk through this offer at the end. So you've seen a lot in our communications. We talk a lot about chatting with a Canadian insider and the role of the Canadian insider. Before we dive into the train experience themselves, I just want to take a quick moment to explain what we mean when we say Canadian insider. That's because they're a big part of how these journeys come together. This is what makes us different. Our Canadian insiders, they're not guessing. They know firsthand experience. They've traveled these routes, they've stayed in these hotels, they live in the area, and they understand the days and how they actually feel once you're on the journey. As planning comes together, your Canadian insider helps coordinate the details, the train services, the hotels, transfers, and experience, so everything works smoothly. You'll get clear communications, a detailed itinerary, and a practical travel guide outlining what to expect and how to prepare. So by the time you travel, it just feels like everything's taken care of. What's also really important to know is that once your trip is all scheduled and everything's ready to go, we're still with you. So, a way to think of it is from the time you arrive in Canada until the time you leave Canada, we're with you throughout that journey to make any adjustments along the way. So before we get into it, I want to introduce you to our speakers. We are very fortunate in that we have Justine and Athena. A little bit about Justine. So Justine, she supports the Vacation Advisor team. She brings a strong understanding of how demand is shaping up for 2026. She's the girl in the know, including how early some of the most popular departures are booking and what it means for availability. Justine also offers a clear, really big picture perspective on how each route comes together, the packing, the scenery, the overall rhythm of the journey, and how different options align with different travel styles, expectations. And she's especially skilled at helping travelers understand which experience tend to be the biggest, make the biggest impression, from the unique Canadian moments to the special excursions. Our next person is Athena. Athena is an experienced travel writer, and she has contributed to many Canadian magazines, and she serves as our senior content person. But what's most important that she's going to share, not only does she serve such a huge role in telling our story, but she's actually traveled on many of these trips and on many of these trains. And today she's going to really share with you her firsthand experience on a sleeper train. And she's going to give it to you from some different perspectives. And now I'm going to turn it over to Justine.
Hello. Thank you for the introduction, Jane. And since you've already introduced me, I will just take a moment to say hello to everyone who's on the webinar with us today. And thank you for your time. Thanks for being here with us. I'll just let you know my goal is for you to leave this session kind of knowing what train experience will be right for you, so you can get on the call with one of our advisors and hopefully get right into the planning. So I'll talk a little bit about Rocky Mountaineer, the different service levels. I'll talk about how we pair accommodation. We'll talk about personalizing those tours and excursions on the trip. And I want to take a moment to highlight 3 itineraries that we're only running one time this summer. So it's a true once in a lifetime opportunity. And I'll give you guys more details on that later. For anyone who is waiting to learn a little bit more about the VO Rail experience, Athena's your gal for that. So please hang tight. She will talk about it towards the end. And bear with us while we dive in here. So I'll start by talking about Rocky Mountaineer, which is one of our longtime industry partners. If you've been on our website, which I'm sure you've poked around a little bit, you'll notice they are in a large majority of our standard itineraries, and that's for a reason. They offer an amazing, luxurious, one-of-a-kind experience through Western Canada and the Canadian Rockies. And the main draw, of course, is the stunning scenery and the exceptional service. So a little bit more about the experience. It's a daylight-only scenic travel experience. So what that means is you do stop every night. You'll stay at a hotel. It's not a sleeper train experience. So you will be waking up early and getting back on the train in the morning. And it makes the most sense because if the scenery is the draw, then of course you won't be able to soak that in at night. And they are panoramic viewing cars. So you've got these elaborate dome windows, which really allows you to feel immersed in the scenery and the nature around you in a really comfortable way. And then the regionally inspired meals are a huge part of this as well. So the culinary experience is a big draw on Rocky Mountaineer, and it's really, really, it's a really incredible experience on both service levels. So that will be Gold Leaf and Silver Leaf, which I will talk about here next. So before I talk to you about what's different about Gold Leaf and Silver Leaf, I thought it would be a good idea to sort of talk about and highlight what you'll get on both experiences first. So with both experiences, you're getting the comfortable reclining lounge seating. You'll have ample leg room. You'll have your complimentary luggage delivery. So your luggage will meet you at the hotel. It's not going to be on the train with you. And then you're also getting your full complimentary alcoholic and non-alcoholic beverages throughout the journey. And that's on both service levels. And then the storytelling piece. So the world-class hospitality from your onboard hosts is not different from Silver Leaf to Gold Leaf. That is a Rocky Mountaineer standard across the board. And they really, really elevate the experience. They bring a lot of knowledge, history, and a lot of fun to the experience. And then the most important thing, I would say, again, going back to the culinary experience, you will have a fabulous gourmet dining experience each day on both Gold and Silver Leaf. And you're provided with a multi-course breakfast and a multi-course lunch, as well as snacks throughout the day. And then, of course, the beverages that I mentioned. So you will never get off the Rocky Mountaineer hungry. Now, before I go into what's different about Silver Leaf and Gold Leaf, I just want to remind everybody that this is not really a comparison of which one is better, but more of a comparison of which one is better for you based on the experience that you're looking for. So let's dive into it. Silverleaf gives you everything you need to experience the the Rocky Mountains, sorry, in luxury. So you have your panoramic views from the oversized windows. One of my favorite things about Silverleaf is all of the overhead room above you. It's a really open feeling, so it feels really roomy. And again, it just really feels like you're one with the nature and the scenery when you're in this specific coach. You have your friendly hosts. They provide a wonderful commentary, like I mentioned, and again, the comfortable seating. The delicious meals that I mentioned in Silverleaf, they're going to be served to you at your seat. So that's one of the main differences here. You can see in the bottom right-hand corner, you have a tray table at your seat. And some people really appreciate this convenience. So again, just depends on what you're looking for. Here is a visual of that train car from the outside, so you can see how large those windows really are and how exposed you are to what's around you. I also think Silverleaf is probably a really good option for anyone who might have any concerns around mobility or accessibility. There is less moving around, and those meals being brought to you can be really convenient if that's a challenge at all. Silverleaf is also a pretty vibrant atmosphere, I would say, because you are staying in your seat for all meals and most of the journey. You're getting to know your neighbors a little bit better, your hosts a little bit better. And then another advantage of being lower in sort of the train car is the vantage point for viewing wildlife. So most people are always hoping to see a bear on this trip, and if you do, and you're on the Silverleaf train, those windows kind of put you at eye level with the wildlife, which is really incredible experience. When we're talking about the Gold Leaf service level, we're talking about being in the bi-level glass dome coach. So what that means is you have the upper level lounge seating where you'll be for most of the journey, and then you have your lower level dining car. So the images on the screen here are of the dining car. You'll see it's a little bit more of a social experience. You will be seated in fours, so if you're going as a couple or as a single, you'll get to kind of mix and mingle a little bit more on Gold Leaf than you would in Silverleaf. And from getting to up and down from the upper level to the lower level, there is a spiral staircase, but there's also a small lift or elevator option for anyone who might struggle with going up and down the stairs. Or again, if it's a little bit more of a challenge, Silverleaf is a great option. For anybody who's using a wheelchair, if you're able to move in and out of that wheelchair, Gold Leaf is probably still an okay option. If you're wheelchair bound, I would highly recommend Silverleaf. But again, getting into the weeds here, this is something you can definitely talk to your advisor about. Quick image from the outside of that Gold Leaf coach as well. So you can see the dome windows up top. You still have really large windows at the bottom next to the dining tables. And another feature on Gold Leaf is the larger viewing platform. So you can see in the bottom right of that train, there's a large viewing platform there. It's a little more accommodating, so you can have about 10 people on there at a time. You can hang out as long as you like. The bottom right-hand image is of that platform, so you can see how close you're really getting to everything. An excellent feature, I would say, for photographers. And then here's a lovely image of the upper level lounge seating in Gold Leaf. So again, you'll be getting your snacks and things here, but you would go down for your multi-course meals. And when it comes to the scenery and how you're viewing it, the difference in Gold Leaf is that you're a little bit higher, right? So you're getting that above tree line vantage point and those full skyline views. So again, just thinking about how you want to experience the scenery and how you'd like to be immersed in it is kind of what will help guide you to which service level is best. So that's Gold Leaf and Silverleaf on Rocky Mountaineer. Now I'd like to pivot and talk about the second component of how we build our trips, which is, of course, the accommodation and hotel levels. So we have 3 different hotel service levels. You've got Comfort, you've got Superior, you've got Deluxe. And Comfort is just that. It's comfortable, it's clean, it's reliable, it's well located, it's 3.5 stars. If you know the Delta properties well, this is probably a comparative product. And then when you're looking at Superior hotels, we're talking a little more upscale, definitely more amenities, typically 4 stars. And we have a lot of boutique hotels that fall into this category as well. And when you're looking at deluxe hotels, we're talking about the best property in that destination. So always 5 stars, usually a Fairmont hotel, depending on where you're going. And it usually includes a higher room category or a room upgrade. And something I like to highlight is when you're talking to an advisor and putting your trip together, you can definitely mix and match different levels throughout the trip. So if you are really excited about the train and you want that full Gold Leaf experience on the train, but you're not too fussed about your hotels, you can pair that with a Comfort hotel. So just giving that information to your advisor really helps them sort of direct you in the right way. So just letting them know what's important to you. Is it views? Is it location? Is it amenities? If you're giving them that direction, they can pair the right accommodation with what you're looking for. Speaking of deluxe and Fairmont, I did want to take a moment to spotlight the Fairmont Gold rooms because they are more than just rooms. It's actually a full experience. So a lot of people think it's just a small difference in room category, but it's a very elevated and premium experience from end to end. So if you're looking at a true luxury hotel experience on your trip, and you're here for all of that opulence, we highly recommend Fairmont Gold. You're getting private check-in, you're getting personalized service, dedicated concierge. Fairmont Gold lives on its own floor, so it's got exclusive lounges, it's got complimentary breakfasts, evening canapes, and drinks. And this is not your average, stay 2 nights and get a free breakfast. This is again a very elevated culinary experience with quality ingredients. Everything is amazing. Even just the scent when you get onto this floor, you can tell you're in a different atmosphere. The rooms are more elegant. The amenities are more upscale. So it's a really luxurious hotel within a hotel experience. And if you're looking to go all out, highly recommend asking your advisor about Fairmont Gold. And then I'll pivot to the third component of our trips, which are the personalized tours and excursions and activities. All of our tours are really small guided tours, so you're never going to be in a huge tour group. You're never going to be on a large bus at any time. The average tour size is about 12 to 16 people. And I would say this is a huge part of what sets Fresh Tracks apart. So on our website, you've probably seen a lot of sample itineraries with a few different tour options on different days. And again, that's just to give you an idea of what your itinerary could look like. But these are all customizable, right? Nothing is a one size fits all with Fresh Tracks. So we can definitely help find the right activity for you based on your pace, your preference, and your taste. There's tons of stuff: gondola rides, canoeing, small group bus tours, food tours, wildlife viewing, walking tours. So it just depends on your preferences. And I thought I would take a moment here to highlight one of my favorite tours and an experience that I was lucky enough to have last May. So on the left-hand side of the screen, you can see the image of the Wild Current Canoe Tours, and that's in Jasper. I got a chance to experience this tour, and we had an amazing guide. His name was Mike. Turned out afterwards, we found out he was actually the owner of Wild Current, and it was just such an incredible experience because he is originally from the Rockies. He's very invested in the community of Jasper. The experience overall is just to go and enjoy the beauty and the peacefulness of the lake. But he'll take you to the other side. You stop off. He'll bring you local snacks, local pastries, local drinks, and he really, really cares about how you're experiencing Jasper. And that's sort of that difference. So this is a place that really means something to him. He cares about protecting it. He cares about sharing it in a way that is meaningful to the people who are on the tour. And an experience like that, it really brings you closer to a destination. It creates a connection between you and that place. It creates a connection between you and the people you're experiencing it with. And it makes those memories extremely meaningful. And as someone who grew up here and has gone to Jasper about 100 times in my life, to go and have that appreciation for the space and the destination renewed was really huge for me. And the reason I tell you this is not to sell this tour specifically, although I do recommend it, and it's small and it will sell out fast, so please ask quickly. But the reason I mention it is because this is the difference that Fresh Tracks makes. Those 30 years of business and those relationships with partners are not nothing. This is what we work to do, is to curate an experience like this that is truly meaningful, not just getting on a tour and getting your photo op and going home. And this is what makes the work meaningful for us and made me really grateful to be a part of this team. So that's just my 2 cents of my experience with Fresh Tracks and the Rockies. So the last bit of planning your trip, of course, is when. So a lot of people love to travel in summer, and we will book up fast. Right now we have decent availability. So like Jane mentioned, there's a reason we're doing this now. The window is now for June and July, and it works amazing. Simply put, of course, the weather is better. Things are more comfortable. We're warming up. You have long daylight hours, so lots more time to explore no matter where you're at. This is an image of Vancouver, where I was born and raised, and this view never gets old. So the sunshine, the West Coast sunsets are unbeatable. And of course the summer scenery. So the lakes are thawed at this point. There's no snow. You're going to see all of the turquoise, the alpine flowers. Everything's going to be a lot more lush. You can really enjoy the landscapes and hopefully again catch more wildlife in the summer. The comfortable conditions make everything easier, and they open up a lot of tour options as well. So you can probably do a little bit more than you would in the winter. But again, depends on what you're looking to experience. Winter is its own wonder as well. So what's really, really special about this summer in particular, this June and July, are the special routes that I mentioned a little bit earlier. So we at Fresh Tracks, we have 3 exclusive itineraries that will only run once, and they are on dedicated dates. So this is a once in a lifetime opportunity. And if you're someone who's really looking to maximize the Rockies piece of this and the Rockies train time, this is definitely a time to pay attention. So if you're wanting to see that scenery, if you want to really emphasize the Banff, Jasper, Lake Louise bits of the trip, these are the routes for you. So we've built them around the exclusive Passage to the Peaks itinerary or route that Rocky Mountaineer has put out for this year. And the reason that we're doing this is because Vancouver and Toronto have the honor of hosting some of the FIFA World Cup games this summer. So we have plenty of guests who are pairing their rail journeys with World Cup events. But there's obviously an opportunity for people who are looking for a little bit of a different speed. And that's sort of what they've done, is take 2 legs of 2 different trips and combine them into one. So one of those legs is the Banff to Kamloops leg. So you'll get lots of scenic highlights here. Again, you're going to go into the Rockies. You'll get a chance to look at the spiral tunnels, which are an engineering marvel, but I will stop there. I will let the Rocky Mountaineer onboard hosts tell you more about that and not steal their thunder. And then you'd spend a night in Kamloops and you'd get back onto the train and you'd go up to Jasper. So again, just more beautiful experience in the Rockies, getting to see Pyramid Fall and Mount Robson, which is the highest peak in the Canadian Rockies. I won't go into the itinerary details, but I did want to give you a quick map visual. So you can see here, usually what the previous route would do is come from Vancouver. So that's as far west as you could go. You go into Kamloops, and then you'd have to decide, am I going to go through Banff or am I going to go up to Jasper? So whereas now you'd get a round trip from Calgary and you get to circle through the Rockies and sort of stay within it. So this one is a 7-day journey. You'd have 2 full days on the train. You get 3 nights in Banff, 2 nights in Jasper. And of course, doing any kind of a round trip means simpler air travel as well. So booking a round trip flight from Calgary would simplify this for you as well. And then we have another itinerary here called Mountains and Lakes of the Rockies. This would take the one we just looked at and extend it by 2 days by adding 2 nights in Lake Louise, which is also a very iconic stay that is on most people's bucket lists. And then we also did one where we've combined 2 trains together, so you can enjoy that exclusive route in the Rockies and do all Banff, Lake Louise, and Jasper together, 2 days on the Rocky Mountaineer train. But in Jasper, instead of circling back to Calgary, what you do there is switch over to the Via Rail train, and you do 3 nights on board, go across the country, and you would end it with 2 nights at Niagara-on-the-Lake. And like I said before, Athena will talk to you in a few slides here about what that Via Rail experience can be like. And I will conclude my part of the presentation by highlighting the personalization piece again. So we talked about train service levels, different accommodations, different tours, activities, excursions, but there are lots of ways to personalize your trip. So please let us know anything that might help us accommodate you better, right? If you have dietary restrictions, anything around mobility and accessibility, we can definitely accommodate that as long as we have the information. And then something that we always love to talk about are milestones. If you're celebrating an anniversary, if you're celebrating a birthday, anything special, please let your advisor know so they can make sure that we're acknowledging that special piece. And again, that's what makes the work so fun for us. And once you're done that planning part and the journey is booked, you still have a support team that is there for you at every stage. So we have our customer experience specialist team, and they'll be there to support you with questions that you might have pre-travel, on the road, 30 to 40 days out from your trip. They will take you through a much more detailed itinerary, so you have all of the information you need, and you can ask them lots of questions, things like packing lists, what's going on with the weather, gratuity suggestions. So you are supported the whole way through, and all of us are here to help you make sure that you find the right trip and that the experience is incredible. So I will hand it off to Athena now to talk to you about the Via Rail and Sleeper Train experience. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Justine. Hi, everyone. It's so great to talk to you today. I'm really excited to share another rail experience. Justine gave you a great breakdown of Rocky Mountaineer earlier, and now I want to tell you about Canada's other rail service, Via Rail, and specifically its sleeper train experience on the Canadian. So I've had the great luck to travel on the Canadian several times. Justine mentioned milestones. I did a vacation with my husband to celebrate his 50th birthday, and both of us had a fabulous experience and would do this trip again at the drop of a hat if given the opportunity. So the Canadian follows a historic route, a historic rail route between Toronto and Vancouver. The whole trip is 2,700 miles. So it's 4 days and 4 nights. We did a bit of time in Toronto before we got on the train, and then we did the entire trip straight across the country. But you do have the option to break up your time on the train and get off in an iconic destination like Jasper and spend some time exploring the Rockies. So across the entire country, the scenery is incredible. We loved seeing the Canadian Shield, the rocky shoreline, those pristine lakes. Um, we found it kind of funny. Several people asked us after our trip if we found the prairies boring, but honestly, it was a highlight of the trip. It was like a landscape painting scrolling by the window, those big blue skies. The photo on the bottom there is the Canadian in winter, but it would also be beautiful in that June, July period with the green and golden fields and those endless prairie skies. So the third morning on the train, we woke up and the Rockies were on the horizon. So we grabbed a coffee and ran up to the one of the upper glass dome viewing areas to watch the mountains as we approached them. We were heading west, so we had the sunset behind us in the east, illuminating those snowy peaks. We saw some bighorn sheep and some elk, and it was just stunning. It was a really magical moment on the trip. So the sleeper train really is all about slow travel. We both really enjoyed how it allowed us to kind of disconnect from the world at large and just connect with each other. Life on board has its own rhythm. So every morning, my husband would get up and go to the Skyline car, one of the lounge cars, and grab us coffee from the self serve area and bring it back to our cabin so we could have like a slow roll into our day. And then we would head to the dining car to linger over breakfast. So all of your meals are included on the Canadian with our trips. And we really enjoyed the experience of dining in this formal dining room. It has been updated, but it does still retain its 1950 architecture. So it has that lovely nostalgic feel of old world rail travel. There's white linens on the table. They do serve regional wines and beer over lunch and dinner, and the menus highlight local ingredients. It's actually really amazing what comes out of that tiny kitchen that's on the train. And we both really enjoyed the Alberta tenderloin and the BC salmon. So if that's on offer when you travel, I highly recommend. Like Rocky Mountaineer's dining room, seating is in tables of four, so you will have the chance to mingle with other travelers. And we did meet some really interesting people from around the world. So I mentioned the Skyline lounge car earlier. When we weren't in the dining car or our cabin, we did spend a lot of time. These are lounge cars that have social areas downstairs and those glass dome viewing areas upstairs. There's lots of opportunities for socializing, but it is entirely optional. So my husband's a bit of an introvert, so we did spend some of our afternoons just upstairs listening to audiobooks while we watched the scenery go by. But there was always people socializing downstairs, doing puzzles together. There's board games, etc. So, like I said, it can be as social or as introspective as you like. There's also the prestige car, sorry, the park car, which is at the back of the train. It's the photo on the far left there. It's known for its bullet shape car. It's at the very back, so it has those windows that wrap around the back of the train, and it's a lovely area to sit and relax. The park car is a more premium lounge experience, so it's a little quieter. And then upstairs, another glass dome viewing area. In the high season, a lot of those seats are reserved for prestige passengers. which brings us to the classes on the Canadian sleeper train. So with our trips, there are 2 service classes with cabins on the Canadian. We were traveling in Sleeper Plus. We had a cabin for 2. That's me on the far left there. In the daytime setup, there's 2 leather chairs. This was before we turned them to face the window, but they're very comfortable. It's a nice private area to retreat if you need some quiet time. And then the first night when we went to dinner, a little rail magic happened. And when we came back, the attendant had transformed it into the 2 bunk beds in the cabin for 2. And it's very cozy, lovely linens. Those cabins for 2 do have a private toilet and sink. We did opt after the first night to leave our lower bunk down as kind of a day bed to hang out through the day, and also for those sneaky afternoon naps if we've been up to see the sunrise. Prestige is the premium class, and there are limited Prestige cabins on every train. This is the premium class on the Canadian. These cabins are 50% bigger than the Sleeper Plus cabins. They have that very comfortable modular sofa, the massive picture windows, and a very nice ensuite bathroom with a private shower. Prestige isn't just about the cabin. It does come with that premium service. So there is an attendant in every cabin, to concierge actually, to help you with all your needs. They will deliver coffee to your room. If you choose to take your meals there, they will make that happen too. It's a very kind of premium luxury service. As I said, there is limited availability with those cabins, and 2026 is almost sold out. So if you are interested in traveling in Prestige this year, I would call one of our travel advisors now. That said, it's also a good time to start planning for 2027. There is more availability, but I would also start planning that now before those cabins do sell out. So you've heard about both the Rocky Mountaineer and the Via, and both of these experiences appeal to some travelers, and many do choose to do a trip where they can experience both. You can either do that on a cross Canada trip, where you travel between Toronto and Jasper on the Canadian, and then spend time exploring the Rockies, and then travel between Jasper and Vancouver on Rocky Mountaineer. You can also choose to spend time just in the Rockies, where you would do travel on one train from Vancouver into Jasper or Banff, and then return to Vancouver on the other option. And it's a great way to try both of those train experiences. One of our travel advisors can help you with what trips do offer both the train experiences. So if Eastern Canada is your preferred region, Via Rail also operates there. This is a lovely region. I'm a little biased. This is where I grew up. So I always encourage people, if they have the opportunity to go to the East Coast, to spend time there and explore. Via Rail does have a sleeper train, the Ocean, that runs between Montreal and Halifax. This train doesn't have the same premium options that you can find on the Canadian. And then for shorter trips, there's the corridor, which connects the cities, Quebec City, Montreal, Toronto, and a couple other places. And if you're a traveler who really likes like immersive cultural experiences, spending lots of time in museums, doing foodie tours and stuff, then these trips would be a great choice for you. Sorry, getting over a cold. Before our trip on the Canadian, my husband and I did spend time exploring Montreal. It has a lovely European feel. So we spent time in Montreal and then did the corridor train into Toronto, where we boarded the Canadian. Excuse me. So that's kind of my overview of Via Rail. I'm going to hand it back to Jane now, and she's going to share with you how to take advantage of a special webinar offer we have on right now.
Thank you, Athena. Thank you, Justine. Outstanding. Just questions are coming through fast and furious. We appreciate all those. we're going to go to a Q&A session. So we're going to actually have Lucy join us in just a second. And then in that time, we're going to be able to answer some of those questions that were asked in a broader way. I just want to touch a bit on what we have in terms of the offer. And some of the questions that maybe were asked was like, what if I want to go in the fall? What if I want to do winter? So I want to let you know that when you go in and you look at some of the offers that we have in terms of upgrade, focus savings, some of those will not just be for that June-July time. The extra bonus is for June and July. So there's a lot of opportunities, but there's travel from that whole time period that many of you are asking about. So I just want to let you know that. So just a real quick, what is it that we're offering for you guys and you guys only? And that is that we are looking at this upgrade savings, and this is going to go towards premium train service. So we talked about Gold Leaf and Prestige. So this will help towards that. That will cut that savings and give you that kind of opportunity to be able to upgrade. But then we're also introducing a extra add-on. So in addition to that, adding a $500 savings just across the board. And this will be for certain select travel for the June and July travel time. The best way to do this and how we want you to do this is that you're going to reach out to our Canadian insiders. So we're going to have this number as we go into the question and answer. We're going to have a place for all kinds of links you can click. A lot of the questions you're asking, like this about, what if I want to do this on this date, or what if you want to do that, or how does this all get included? Then that would be best to talk to a Canadian insider, because as we said to you all, this is about making what works for you. So everything is wrapped around what you want. And this is more than just the actual train itself, but it's the entire journey from the hotels to the excursions to all the different kind of getting picked up from the airport and where your luggage goes and all the things that can happen. So we'll walk you through all that when you speak to your Canadian insider. Now what we're going to do is we're going to move over to the question and answer part of this. So we're going to kind of move to a different room. Now we're here, and now we're in the question and answers. And so we're going to move it over to Lucy. But before I do, I want you to look right below. You should see where you see my picture. You should see 3 links that are there. One is a link that will let you call the telephone number to talk to a Canadian insider. The second one is a website page that will kind of walk through some of the things that we talked about today. And then the last one is if you'd rather just schedule a call because it worked with your time schedule, then you can just schedule a call. So now I'm going to turn it over to Lucy, and she's going to answer some of your questions.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lucy. Some of you have had questions answered by me in the back end. I've been furiously typing away. If I missed anything, please do feel free to reach out to any of our Canadian insiders. They will be equally informed and super happy to help. A few questions that have come up a few times. So I thought I'd just kind of go over them right now rather than replying to everybody individually. A lot of questions about single travelers. Whether there's a supplement, what that looks like. All of our trips are available for solo travelers, and we're very equipped to take care of you in that situation. It does come in at a slightly higher price point. I wouldn't call it a single supplement. It's more just because you're not sharing the cost of the hotel rooms with anybody. You will have your own hotel room, and obviously that will come in at a slightly higher price point. Had some questions about accessibility. We are very equipped to deal with travelers who might have some mobility issues. It's very much a case-by-case situation, but broadly speaking, there's not very much that we can't accommodate. It would just involve having a bit of a conversation with your Canadian insider while you're booking your trip, so that we can make sure that we get you in rooms that work for you, in transportation that's going to be able to facilitate your needs. But definitely something we can do, and certainly bring that up when you're chatting with our people to make sure that you have the best time possible. Couple of questions for trips for 2025, 2020, 2028, I should say. We are booking for 2028. It's obviously quite far in advance, and schedules are tentative. But if you're looking to kind of get in ahead of the game, certainly something that we can start a conversation on. Some questions about food, dietary requirements, that sort of thing, particularly on the trains. Now, dietary requirements, broadly speaking, can all be accommodated. We do need to know in advance so we can let the train know, so they, obviously once the train starts moving, they've got what they've got on board. But if you do have any requirements, gluten-free, vegan, kosher, this sort of thing, let us know. We can contact the trains on your behalf and let them know, what to expect and what to prepare for. We've had some questions about the speed of the Rocky Mountaineer in particular. I don't know if Justine maybe covered this a little bit, but it is a very slow moving train. It will also slow down if there's anything remotely interesting to look at. Obviously, views they are very well aware of, but also wildlife. They can slow things down for you if there's a bear or an eagle, or if you're really, really lucky, a moose, something like that. So they'll change the speed accordingly, and let everybody know if there is something that is worth looking out the window for. Some questions about dress code for the trains and the hotels. Broadly speaking, you'd probably want to, maybe bring a sort of a smart, casual look for the train. Recommend layers always because temperatures can change. But generally, Canada is a sort of a jeans and a plaid shirt kind of a country, so you don't have to worry too much about that. A lot of questions about the excursions and the inclusions there. I think it was mentioned, but we include excursions as part of the package everywhere that you're overnight for more than one night. So if you have a full day in a location, you'll have an excursion included in the package. The only time it would ever be additional was, for example, if you were looking to upgrade your experience, say, a private helicopter tour, for example, something that's a little bit out of the ordinary, then that would involve, a supplement. But otherwise, everything's taken care of. You don't have to worry about a thing. Including kind of how to get there and that sort of stuff. Most of the excursions will pick you up either at your hotel or very, very nearby. Finally, a lot of questions about flights. Fresh Tracks Canada doesn't arrange flights. We leave that up to you. A lot of people like to use points or wait for the good deals. So typically it works out better, but we're perfectly happy to make recommendations and help you, if you have questions about timing and that sort of thing. So do let us know. I know that we've got lots of questions coming in right now that we might have to email afterwards about. I will say again, if you do have any questions, please give us a call. We've got a team of people who are experts in all of these subjects, and we'll be able to help you out and are just on the other end of a phone call. I am seeing some questions about the meal inclusions other than on the train. We would typically include a dinner on the night of your arrival, but and then that way, you don't have to worry about finding a restaurant in an unfamiliar city on a day that you've just arrived. And there will be trips with meals, dinners included, kind of here and there. Typically, you're on your own for most meals, so that you're free to visit restaurants that you might have just noticed while you've been wandering around town and go on your own little adventure there. But again, we've got lots and lots of good advisors here that can recommend fantastic restaurants for you. Plenty of foodies here at Fresh Tracks, so we will certainly help you out if you have any questions. For everyone else who missed the webinar or would like the link, it will be coming to you in your email. Jane's probably going to cover this shortly anyways. But keep your eyes peeled for that. If you don't see anything, give us a shout and we can send you the link.
Okay, Lucy has done a great job. You've given us so many questions, and I know that we are already a little over time. So here's what we're going to do. One of the things that we do is we'll look at some of these and we'll get these answers back to you. So we're able to send you back an email to give you some of the answers. What I would most encourage you to do is to just call us directly. So if you call that number that's right there, that 1-877-404-4236, that'll connect you straight to a Canadian Insider. They can answer any of the questions that you've asked today that I've seen. The other thing that I want to let you know is that not immediately, it takes about 2 hours, but once we're able to get this all kind of synced up, we'll send you over an email that will give you a landing page to go to that you could kind of look, a website page you could go to kind of look at some of the things we talked about. This telephone number again, the ability to schedule a call, answer some of the questions, and then tomorrow you'll actually get an email with this actual recording. So that way you can watch it at your pace. I know some of you said, oh, could you show me this slide, or you could do that. So they'll be able to go there and look at that, and you could see what you wanted to see. We're going to keep this, we're going to wrap it up, but we're going to keep this open so that you could have the links available to you for a few minutes after I'm done talking, for those of you who want to grab those before we close out. The other thing I wanted to just kind of touch back again, because I've seen this come up on a few questions, is just kind of the special offer that we're talking about. Yes, we do have one that specifically kind of reaches the June and July, but our offer isn't limited to just that. And I think the most important thing is to have a conversation with your Canadian Insider, because it's all about when, which trip you take, what you want to do, what all the things you want to include. And they're going to be able to answer it, because again, we don't do it kind of like a, you selected A and A is this, because there are just things you might want to do, like add a night in Vancouver, or you heard Athena talk about adding a night in Toronto. So we appreciate you guys. You have been amazing. The questions, the sharing of where you came from, and just how great you've all been. We appreciate you very much. We look forward to this. This is a series of different ones that we're going to be doing from now on. So keep looking. If we haven't found the right topic for you, we're going to keep doing it and answering more and more questions. And again, we appreciate you. Thank you for your time. We look forward to seeing you in Canada. Good night.